Chapter 101, Chapter 86, Forced Conscription, Unbearable Suffering, Intolerable /3. But he was already a martial arts grandmaster, and as the saying goes, the braver the man, the higher his skill. Regardless of what the other party was plotting, they couldn't possibly harm him. Brother Jiang, this place isn't convenient for talking. Why don't we find another place to chat? Tanjai invited. He cautiously looked around, seemingly afraid of eavesdroppers. There's no need for that. Can't we just talk here about whatever it is? We're not that familiar, no need to go elsewhere. Jiang Fan said unceremoniously. He didn't want to follow a stranger to an unknown place. Even if he wasn't afraid of the other party having malicious intentions, there was no need for unnecessary complications. Hearing this, Tanjai was momentarily stunned. He didn't expect the other party to be so disrespectful. But he quickly smiled instead. You're right, we're not that familiar to begin with, so no need for pleasantries. In any case, whether you come today or not, you will have to come. If you don't, my brothers and I might visit your home daily, and I believe your sister-in-law is at home, right? I don't believe you'll stay home forever. There will be times when you're not home. He wore a sinister smile, his words carrying a threat. Are you threatening me? Jiang Fan squinted, a trace of killing intent emanating from him. The temperature around seemed to drop considerably. Yet Tanjai didn't notice anything, continuing to speak to himself. So what if I'm threatening you? In today's world, it's the survival of the fittest. Without strength, one gets bullied. Of course, if you agree to join us, that's another story. At that time, we'll be allies, naturally looking out for each other. Otherwise, consider the consequences. All right, what exactly do you want to discuss with me? Jiang Fan slightly reined in his killing intent, realizing there were others behind Tanjai, and even if he dealt with Tanjai, unless he dealt with those behind him, the matter wouldn't be over. He wanted to know what Tanjai and those behind him truly wanted. Good, a wise man submits to circumstances. Why didn't you agree sooner? Did it really require my threats? Simply ungrateful. Follow me, this is not a suitable place for detailed conversation. Tanjai said somewhat arrogantly, believing his threats had intimidated the other party, seeing him as a coward easily manipulated by his intimidation. In his eyes, this young man's status had already dropped a notch below his own. But Jiang Fan said nothing. He wanted to see what Tanjai was really up to. It wasn't long before, under Tanjai's lead, they twisted and turned, arriving at a remote alley's house. Then the two of them entered the house just like that. Upon entering the house, Jiang Fan immediately saw there were 7 or 8 people inside. Each seemed to subtly emanate killing intent. Clearly, these people had seen blood, not ordinary folks. Brother Gu, I brought him here. Tanjai nodded and bowed to a middle-aged man, Gu Jing, grinning obsequiously. It was as if he had seen his master. Not bad, well done. The middle-aged man Gu Jing was quite satisfied, looking at Jiang Fan. This brother, we're not bad people. The reason we invited you is to discuss a significant task. Once successful, glory and wealth will be at your fingertips. He wore a sincere look, appearing very honest and reliable. What do you want me to do? Upon hearing this, Jiang Fan sneered. He hardly knew the other party, having just met, and they were promising him glory and wealth, the hallmark of a swindler. However, he was curious about their real intentions. I believe you're aware that lately, our lives have become increasingly difficult. The government and the money gang collude, exploiting the people, collecting taxes for 30 years in advance. They leave us no means to live. Recently, they've even been crazily recruiting able-bodied men, sending us to the battlefield to die. If this continues, we're doomed. So rather than sit and wait for death, we might as well fight the government. The middle-aged man Gu Jing clenched his fist, speaking through gritted teeth, clearly harboring intense hatred for the government, wishing for nothing more than to skin them alive. The rest shared the same expression, each filled with resentment. Are you trying to join the Red Eyebrow Army? Jiang Fan raised an eyebrow. Brother, you're indeed smart, seeing our intentions so quickly. In fact, we're not trying to join the Red Eyebrow Army. We have long been part of it. The Red Eyebrow Army consists of like-minded righteous individuals. Our main goal is to overthrow the corrupt court. Since the court doesn't intend to give us a way to live, we don't need to die for the court. Continuing to fight in Yun City actually holds no significance. Only ordinary people like us die, So we want to take action and quickly end this war. The middle-aged man Gujing smiled slightly. So what exactly do you want to do? Jiang Fan asked. It's very simple. We plan to join forces with the Red Eyebrow Army, inside and outside cooperation, to capture Yun City. Recently, the government has been recruiting able-bodied men. I'm sure you will soon be drafted as well, serving as cannon fodder for the government. If you don't want to die, you can cooperate with us at the crucial moment and seize the opportunity to open the city gates. Chapter 102, Chapter 86, Press Gang bitterly unbearable, unable to endure /4. This way, we can let the Red Eyebrow Army people in. By then, you will be a hero of the Red Eyebrow Army, gaining wealth and honor without a doubt. The middle-aged man, Gu Jing, said straightforwardly. Undoubtedly, they were trying to subvert the residents of Yun City, turning them into people of the Red Eyebrow Army, who would betray at the critical moment, ambush the government troops, and create chaos within the city. After all, the grievances within Yun City were boiling over, accumulated against the government for a long time. Just a little persuasion, and many people would willingly act as inside spies. I see. Jiang Fan nodded. He understood the opponent's thoughts. They were also people of the Red Eyebrow Army, with the same goal of recruiting some Red Eyebrow Army cannon fodder to work for them. If it fails, they won't suffer any losses. Once it succeeds, it would be a great achievement. He naturally had no fondness for the government, but he did not want to work for the Red Eyebrow Army, making wedding clothes for others. Not to mention, this group was clearly trying to use him. Although I appreciate your invitation, I am just an ordinary citizen. I don't wish to get involved in such matters. Jiang Fan straightforwardly refused. What do you mean? You would rather be exploited by the government, oppressed by the money gang, than work for our Red Eyebrow Army. You brat, aren't you a government man? Immediately, someone stared at Jiang Fan, seeming very dissatisfied and malicious. What do you mean? Jiang Fan squinted his eyes. It's literal. What we do are all beheading deals. Since we invited you over, we didn't intend to let you go back like this. In short, whether you agree or not today, you must agree. If you don't leave proof of loyalty, then you are not one of us, and you must die. Tanjai said straightforwardly, revealing his true intentions. For them, it was do or die. Naturally, they couldn't let the kid in front of them return for no reason. If this guy went back and reported to the government, then they would be doomed. So from the beginning, they had no second choice. You still have a wife at home, don't you? Bring her over immediately. In the future, obediently work for us. That way, your wife will have a chance to live. Otherwise, both you and your wife will die, understand? The middle-aged man, Gu Jing, sneered, feeling this kid only responded to force, forcing him to use some tactics. In fact, they were selective in their persuasion. They specifically chose those who had families. After all, people with families were easier to control because of their ties. Although such actions were indeed somewhat despicable, it was deemed worthwhile for the rebellion cause. After all, the ones sacrificed weren't them. Are you threatening me? Jiang Fan's eyes grew colder. Initially, he didn't want to haggle too much with them. After all, these people only wanted to rebel against the government because they couldn't survive otherwise. But who could have thought there must be something hateful about pitiful people? They were not much different from the people of the money gang when they could do such things. Moreover, the other party had already threatened him, which was something he could not tolerate. What's wrong with threatening you? If not friends, then enemies. Any government dog must die. Immediately do as we say, or you'll suffer. Tanjai sneered. Boom! As soon as the words fell, Jiang Fan instantly took action, pulling out the Chengying sword from his space ring with a light swing. In the next second, Tanjai's head fell immediately, killed by a single swipe. His eyes were wide open, seemingly showing a look of astonishment, as if unable to believe he'd just died like that. Besides, he wasn't prepared at all. Dare to threaten me, you must be tired of living. Jiang Fan looked calmly at Tanjai, who was dead. For the death of such a person, he had no sympathy or feelings. The other party's experience was indeed pitiful. But being pitiful is not omnipotent, not everything can be done. Since he threatened him, he was an enemy, and the only outcome was death. Chapter 103, Chapter 87, Running ahead of time, calmly avoiding disaster. What? Seeing this scene, Gu Jing and the others were stunned. They never expected that this seemingly honest and stuttering guy would dare to suddenly strike. Moreover, the opponent was initially unarmed. Where did this sword come from? But now wasn't the time for them to ponder over such details. Since this guy dared to kill their own people, he was clearly their enemy. For such a person, only death could atone for his crime. Immediately, Gu Jing and the others quickly reached for their weapons, intending to besiege Jiang Fan. Boom, boom, boom. Yet before Gu Jing and the others could act, streaks of sword chi burst out, astonishingly fast, like a beam of black light slicing through the endless night. The next second, everyone in the house was dead. Each of them had been pierced through by the sword chi. Their eyes were wide open, seemingly unable to believe they had died just like that. A large amount of fresh blood flowed across the ground. Jiang Fan felt no emotion over their deaths, not even a ripple in his heart. In such chaotic times, the lives of ordinary people were as insignificant as grass. He had seen far too many dead people. What worried him, however, was the escalating conflict between the Red Eyebrow Army and the government of Yun City, making the city increasingly unsafe. Even ordinary residents couldn't avoid the turmoil. Seems it's time to leave. Staying in the current house will surely get caught up in the chaos. Either the Red Eyebrow Army forcibly recruits you, or the government takes you away to act as cannon fodder. Considering this, it's better to hide in the basement of the Li family mansion. Jiang Fan squinted his eyes. In fact, he had long wanted to leave his current house. He just worried that something unexpected might happen at the Li family mansion. But after days of observation, since the high-ranking members of the Li family were all dead, it seemed the mansion had been completely forgotten by them, with no one residing there. Therefore, it was perfect to become a temporary shelter for him and Su Weiwei. As long as they hid in the basement for a while, neither the Red Eyebrow Army nor the government would be able to find them. Of course, he didn't plan to hide there forever, just temporarily. Once the battle between the Red Eyebrow Army and the government concluded, he could naturally emerge from the basement. At that point, whether staying in Yun City or moving elsewhere, there wouldn't be much danger. In short, it's best to avoid this period of unrest first. With this thought, Jiang Fan acted, taking out corpse-dissolving water to dispose of the bodies. This would at least buy him some time. At the very least, it would delay the occurrence of a murder case, reducing the likelihood of his exposure by the government filing a case. Boom tilde tilde. At that moment, a message penetrated deep into his consciousness. You fought for your life, killing Gu Jing and others, narrowly escaping death, survived a calamity and gained 300 luck points. Receiving this message, Jiang Fan blinked. Did this count as narrowly escaping death? Regardless, this was indeed a disaster survived. If his strength was ordinary, he would have been killed by that group long ago, and wouldn't have felt so unbothered now. Moreover, he gained 300 luck points this time. His total luck points had returned to 1,360. Previously expended 300 luck points to comprehend the Aurora swordsmanship, and now it's instantly replenished. It can only be said, in such chaotic times, calamities are never lacking. Simply surviving brings countless calamities, thus earning substantial luck. In that case, accumulating 2,000 luck points is just a matter of time. Jiang Fan was quite hopeful. After all, he was just 600 or 700 away from 2,000 luck points. Perhaps after 2 or 3 more calamities, he could achieve it. By then, he would certainly advance to the level of innate martial artist, thereby nurturing a spirit root. Swoosh! Without further thought, Jiang Fan quickly left the place and returned home. Stealthily making his way back, no one noticed his presence. Husband! Seeing Jiang Fan return, Su Weiwei immediately flashed a smile. She had been very worried that her husband might get into trouble outside. After all, Yun City was in complete chaos, with people being dragged off the streets everywhere. It was said that a nearby blacksmith was just buying vegetables outside. He was seen by the army and was immediately taken away, becoming a member of the suicide squad. So she also worried her husband might face a similar mishap. Pack up your things, we're leaving immediately. Jiang Fan spoke directly, without much explanation. Where to? Hearing this, Su Weiwei was startled, knowing something major must have happened for her husband to make such a decision. She didn't plan to ask any reason, since her husband surely had his own justifications for doing so. All she needed was to follow him, and that was enough. I've found a safe basement. That place is extremely hidden. It's sufficient for us to hide for a prolonged time, to survive this chaos. Jiang Fan didn't intend to explain more, as every second counted now. Chapter 104, Chapter 87, Running Ahead of Time, Calmly Avoiding Disaster /2. It's not too late to explain once we get to a safe place. All right. Su Weiwei nodded and immediately returned to pack up. Actually, there wasn't much to pack. Just some bed sheets, clothes, and basic necessities. In no time, all their belongings were stored inside the space ring. With this immortal treasure, moving house becomes incredibly easy. Whoosh! After finishing all this, Jiang Fan hugged Su Weiwei and quietly left the place. After twisting and turning through the alleys, they avoided the surrounding eyes. Finally, they arrived at the Li family residence and silently sneaked into the basement. With this, the two were temporarily safe. Husband, how did you find such a hidden place? Su Weiwei was astonished. She had never imagined there was such a basement in Yun City. And it's incredibly hidden. Even if the money gang and the government wanted to conscript people, they couldn't find us. She felt very safe hiding here. This was truly a sanctuary amid chaos. Just a stroke of luck. Jiang Fan smiled faintly. We have the Dragon King gang and the Li family to thank. If it weren't for them, how could I have found such a basement? Though these people were slain by me, I still must appreciate their hard efforts. Several days passed. The death of Gu Jing and others didn't stir any waves, as they were marginal figures in society, not many knew of them. Otherwise, they wouldn't have joined the Red Eyebrow Army, intending to resist the government to the end. They were barefoot soldiers fearing nothing, they had nothing to lose. Even if someone knew them, it was just the Red Eyebrow Army people. But how could they dare to openly search? Instead, they feared their tracks would be exposed, leading the government to wipe them out. Upon learning the news of Gu Jing and others' disappearance, the Red Eyebrow Army people were terrified, suspecting they'd been caught and went into hiding, not daring to show themselves. Thus this matter faded silently away, as if it never happened. Yet the battles between the Red Eyebrow Army and Yun City were escalating, yearly resulting in massive casualties and causing risks of the city's fall, making the government and three major families increasingly anxious. Daily, many were captured and forced to act as cannon fodder. If anyone dared to refuse, they were beaten on the street. They were trapped in madness, akin to a dead end. At this time, a group from the money gang arrived at the street where Jiang Fan initially resided. The leader was precisely Elder He Yuliang of the money gang. They looked fierce, surrounded by a terrifying aura. They held various weapons like broadswords, spears, iron hammers, etc. By now, the money gang members had become part of the army, responsible for maintaining order within the city, preventing any chaos. So the Red Eyebrow Army outside couldn't seize an opportunity. Come out, all of you come out. Now that war is urgent, every household in Yun City needs to contribute. All males above age 14 must go to battle. Dare disobey orders, and you'll be executed on the spot. Elder He Yuliang shouted furiously, clutching the government's orders. Now, he was not just an elder of the money gang, but also worked for the government, handling tasks for them. What? Upon hearing this, the neighbors' faces changed drastically. Though aware of the dire situation, they didn't expect it to worsen to the extent of forced conscription from every household. This was clearly sending them to their deaths. Before these people could react, members of the money gang stepped forward, dragging away one man after another from each household, leaving only women behind. If anyone dared to defy the orders, they received a harsh beating. This left Yun City's residents trembling, no longer daring to resist. They had grown accustomed to yielding. What's going on? Why is there still one household missing? Elder He Yuliang looked displeased as he counted people and discovered one household hadn't complied, hadn't left their home. This was a slap in his face, the money gang's face and the government's face. Could it be he'd have to make an example today? Or else these unruly folk would think he was joking. It's Jiang Fan's family, a couple who arrived in Yun City not long ago. Money gang members quickly reported, having registration information for all residents on this street, knowing clearly which household was absent. What, those two newcomers? Last time they paid promptly, seemed like good citizens. Turns out they're unruly folk. Go inside immediately, drag them out, serve as a warning to others. Elder He Yuliang was furious. He wondered if he was too lenient, letting Jiang Fan assume he was easygoing, thus daring to blatantly ignore his orders. How outrageous. Bang! Immediately, dozens of Money Gang members charged into the courtyard where Jiang Fan had stayed. They began searching frantically, but found the house was already empty. Not even a trace left behind. Elder, the people inside have long fled, vanished without a trace. Someone said, fled? Yun City is only so large, where could those two have run? Get to searching immediately, find out where they went. I refuse to believe those two have wings to fly out of Yun City. Elder He Yuliang ground his teeth in rage. He never imagined someone could escape right under his nose. How unbelievable. Did they know he'd come to conscript and fled ahead of time? Unfortunately, Yun City was closed off. Escaping anywhere would be useless. Sooner or later, he'd find them. Once found, he'd punish them severely, show these unruly folk his might. Yes, Elder He. Numerous Money Gang members received orders, starting to search for Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei's tracks. In the end, it was impossible to find traces of Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei. After all, Yun City's area is quite large. With so many buildings inside, each household occupied. Finding two people in a metropolis of 1,000,000 isn't a simple task. More importantly, they lacked enough manpower. It was impossible to expend so much effort and time just to find a young couple. So eventually they returned empty-handed, choosing to give up. After all, it was just forced conscription. Anyone could be seized, no need to focus on Jiang Fan. Could it be Jiang Fan's couple really escaped? Of course they fled. He Yuliang and his men searched frantically, couldn't trace them. Yun City is only so big, where could they have gone? Maybe they have relatives here, hiding in a relative's home. Sai, so clever, fled in advance, whereas my husband got caught and is now cannon fodder in the army. I wonder if he can return. Actually, I'm most worried about my young son, just 14, how could he go to war? Neighbors discussed endlessly. Although they hadn't interacted much with Jiang Fan's couple, merely an acquaintance, they knew each other in passing. Now, hearing Jiang Fan's couple successfully escaped, avoiding the Money Gang's conscription. Each felt envious. At least they avoided disaster, they could at least live. But their own men's fate was uncertain. Given the intense ongoing war, daily seeing numerous deaths, surviving was a rarity. Yet even so, they couldn't stop the endless conflicts, could only go with the flow. Chapter 105, Chapter 88, Destroy the Money Gang, Yun City falls, the great calamity arrives. At this moment, the Li family residence basement. Jiang Fan held Su Weiwei's proud and delicate body. It was simply like having fragrant jade in his arms, a beauty in his embrace, extraordinarily comfortable. It seemed that during this period, Su Weiwei's physical condition had evolved quite a bit compared to before. Perhaps it was because, during this time, she lived a life of luxury, eating rich food every day, so Su Weiwei received sufficient nutrition and developed more perfectly compared to before. Her skin also became whiter and smoother. There was also a faint fragrance coming from her body, which was simply intoxicating. With every smile and every gesture, she was like a demonic concubine. Honestly, the life of hiding in the basement wasn't so bad. No need to worry about the chaos outside, and with adequate food supplies. He felt that he could easily hide for several months without much problem. Boom tilde tilde. Just at this moment, a message came from the depths of Jiang Fan's consciousness. By hiding in the basement in advance, you avoided the government's forced conscription and thus survived a calamity, gaining you 100 luck points. What? Perceiving this message, Jiang Fan saw images of the previous events, seeming to see the fierce He Yuliang capturing able-bodied men from house to house. Each household wailed continuously, but it was to no avail. Many men were captured and entered military service. Without a doubt, if he had stayed in the original residence without resisting, he would likely have been captured by He Yuliang and then conscripted into the army, becoming cannon fodder. Indeed, running away was a very correct decision. Jiang Fan felt a deep sense of emotion, having a bit of admiration for his foresight, though it wasn't foresight either, as in history similar things have happened countless times. Not to mention the distant past, just before he transmigrated, a certain Wu and a certain country had a war, and because the war wasn't going well with a high number of soldier casualties, the situation was precarious. As a result, a certain Wu began capturing able-bodied men domestically, forcing them into the army. The casualty rate exceeded 90%. Basically, entering the army meant almost certain death. This is what they call nothing new under the sun. This He Yuliang has come looking for trouble with me time and again. If I continue to let him live, he might ruin things for me in the future. Looks like I have to eliminate He Yuliang. Jiang Fan's eyes showed a hint of coldness. Undoubtedly, this elder He of the money gang was like an unfeedable hungry wolf. Even if being paid, he might still never be satisfied. For such a person, only his death would be the best choice for him. Originally, he didn't want to make a move against He Yuliang, but now it seemed better to cut him down. This would also demonstrate to He Yuliang that his money was not that easily taken. Husband, I still want more. At this moment, Su Weiwei opened her beautiful eyes, with seductive eyes like silk, her alluring figure entwined with him. What? Hearing this, Jiang Fan blinked, feeling that his wife was indeed too fierce, possessing what kind of physique. Even though he was already a grandmaster, he still couldn't match this woman. This woman was simply an elf. However, how could a man admit to being incapable? Even if not, he had to do it. He couldn't let his wife look down on him. Without further ado, the bed swayed, and there seemed to be bursts of sound coming from the basement. Another day passed deep at night. Outside the city of Yun City, at a certain residence. This was where Elder He of the money gang resided. At this moment, he was eating and drinking with 5 or 6 trusted subordinates. It's known that currently the grain in all of Yun City was rationed. Ordinary people couldn't get enough to eat or dress warmly. But he was different, still able to feast on sumptuous meals. The table was full of chicken, duck, fish, meat, abalone, and other delicacies, which were truly fragrant. If ordinary people saw this scene, they would surely drool 3 feet. This was a sumptuous dinner that ordinary people couldn't even dream of having during the new year. But for the money gang elder, it was just an ordinary dinner. This is what they call a mansion's dog meat stinks, while bones freeze along the road. Elder He, what do you think will be the outcome of our battle with the Red Eyebrow Army? If we fail, won't the money gang be at a disadvantage? A trusted subordinate asked worriedly. Although they feasted, able to bully outside, they were secretly worried, fearing their happy days might end. Because they knew their happiness was based on the money gang. Once the money gang was destroyed, they would surely suffer as well. So no one was more loyal to the money gang than they were. The situation is probably not that good. The Red Eyebrow Army's numbers are simply too many. And each one is fearless and not afraid of death. They clamor to enter Yun City and slaughter the noble families of Yun City. Once they break into Yun City, we surely won't have a good outcome. So now, many noble descendants are appearing on the city walls to resist the Red Eyebrow Army. But I think that Yun City's fall is just a matter of time. He Yuliang said solemnly. Though he had confidence in Yun City's defensive capabilities, looking at the current situation, if they continued like this, Yun City wouldn't last long. He naturally hoped Yun City could hold, but people must still be realistic. Chapter 106, Chapter 88, Destroy the Money Gang, Yun City Falls, the Great Calamity approaches /2. If that's the case, then what should we do? Many of his trusted subordinates asked worriedly. Once the Red Eyebrow Army breaks in, they're afraid these remnants of the Dragon King gang won't stand a chance. They might even be killed by the furious crowd. After all, over the years, they've committed numerous atrocities. Countless ordinary citizens had died because of them. They couldn't even imagine their fate in the hands of ordinary people. What's there to be afraid of? We're just some small fry, not important at all. If the Red Eyebrow Army really attacks, we'll immediately defect. We can even pretend to be ordinary citizens and join the Red Eyebrow Army. In any case, it doesn't matter whom we serve. What's more important is that the Red Eyebrow Army is currently desperate for talent. We're all martial artists, which is a rare combat force for the Red Eyebrow Army. Honestly, I don't believe the Red Eyebrow Army would refuse our allegiance. He Yuliang sneered. Honestly, he had already thought out his next plan, which was to change allegiance. If Yun City can hold, he'd continue to remain in the money gang to enjoy wealth and influence. If it can't hold, then he would seize the opportunity to join the Red Eyebrow Army. After all, the Red Eyebrow Army is desperate for talent, and they wouldn't possibly refuse the joining of a Bone Forger realm martial artist. He believes he has strength. The world is vast, where couldn't he go? You really are a fickle fellow. Wherever the wind blows, that's where you lean. Right then, a voice suddenly rang out, appearing in the ears of He Yuliang and others. What? Hearing this, He Yuliang and the others were immediately startled. They focused their eyes and saw a stranger had appeared in the room. Wait, you are Jiang Fan. How did you appear here? He Yuliang's pupils contracted. He never expected to encounter this outsider. According to his understanding, this fellow should have already hidden away. But now he's daring enough to appear in front of him. It's simply unbelievable. There's definitely something amiss here. Thus, he became vigilant, believing this person must have significant problems. If it were an ordinary person, they wouldn't dare enter his home directly. Of course, I'm here to send you off. Jiang Fan looked calmly at He Yuliang and the others. He had put some effort into finally locating He Yuliang and the others' whereabouts. Fortunately, He Yuliang's reputation was quite large. Many people knew where he lived. So finding this group wasn't too difficult. You're courting death. Trying to send me off, who do you think you are? You're simply tired of living. Though He Yuliang was cautious, he didn't hold back with his words, secretly readying himself to retaliate. He grabbed the large knife placed beside him and immediately tried to strike Jiang Fan with it. With his bone-forging realm power, a mere commoner couldn't possibly deal with him. Bang! But before he could act, Jiang Fan instantly made his move, gently swinging his sword. A burst of sword chi exploded forth. The sword chi was incredibly fast, like a flash of light, tearing through the night sky. Everyone felt an overwhelming chill, as if their skin were being sliced. The next second, He Yuliang felt a sharp pain in his body, then noticed with the corner of his eye a streak of blood on his forehead. No way I died just like that. He Yuliang was dumbfounded. He was at least a bone forger realm martial artist. His power shouldn't be a pushover. Facing an enemy, he should have at least had some strength to fight back. With such power, he could become a money gang elder, manage a hall. But what's happening now? In just an instant, he's been killed. Who exactly is this fellow? Why does he possess such formidable power? At this moment, he regretted deeply. If he had known how strong this young man was, he wouldn't have provoked him. But now it's too late to say anything. With a thud, his body fell heavily to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust. A large amount of blood flowed onto the ground. Elder? Other trusted subordinates immediately jumped in shock, but before they could act, yet more sword chi came crashing in, incredibly fast, unstoppable. Instantly, the remaining trusted subordinates had their hearts pierced through. One by one, they fell to the ground, already dead. Their eyes were wide open, seemingly unable to believe they died just like that. This group from the money gang had oppressed the people for so many years. Now, they've ended their evil lives. Good. Jiang Fan clenched his fists, feeling his strength was simply overwhelming. Not to say he was invincible in the mortal world, but it was hard to find opponents for him. Only encountering cultivators could pose some degree of threat to him. But cultivators are not so easily encountered. Facing these small fry from the money gang, killing them was as simple as slaughtering chickens. Not to mention causing trouble for him, they couldn't even let him gasp for breath. Boom tilde tilde. At this time, a message entered the depths of his consciousness. You killed He Yuliang and the others, preventing a danger in advance, overcoming a catastrophe, and earned 100 luck points. Chapter 107, Chapter 88. Annihilate Money Gang, Yun City Falls, Great Calamity approaches /3. Sensing this information, Jiang Fan felt quite satisfied. If he adds the luck points he obtained previously, he now has a total of 1,560 luck points. This means that the 2,000 luck points are not too far off. Just as he had predicted before. Although chaos is frequent now, amidst the turmoil of war, it is like a fish in water for him. As long as he survives calamity after calamity, he can obtain immense destiny. These calamities are opportunities for him, helping him grow rapidly. If I overcome a few more calamities, I can become an innate martial artist. Jiang Fan was very much looking forward to it. He knew that for the cultivation realm, his strength seemed decent, but he was just a mortal. Compared to true cultivators, he was still too fragile, hardly worth mentioning. Only by becoming an innate martial artist and nurturing a spirit root can he truly embark on the path of cultivation. Right now is just the beginning. Let's go. With this in mind, Jiang Fan first destroyed the corpses of He Yuliang and others, then quickly left the place. He also concealed his presence, with no one knowing he had been there. Another day passed. The news of the disappearance of He Yuliang and others quickly spread throughout the streets and alleys. Especially the residents who had suffered under He Yuliang and others' oppression, each was clapping their hands in joy. Have you heard? He Yuliang and his group seem to have suddenly disappeared. What disappearance? They were actually killed by some strongman, and their bodies were already destroyed. Recently, more and more people have disappeared in Yun City. It is said that the one who acted might be the Bat King, Yang Qin. This person loves to drink blood, a person of the demon Tao. Countless people have died at his hands. Those missing people were probably killed by him. Really, they haven't found this Bat King, Yang Qin, for so long. Haha, this Bat King, Yang Qin, is a martial arts grandmaster with formidable strength. If he deliberately hides, who can find him? But it's also a good thing. These pests like He Yuliang are finally dead. It's like heaven has eyes. Who knows how many families those bastards ruined? Isn't it? Relying on being an elder of the money gang, they often bullied and harmed households. Now they finally got retribution. This is, the wicked are naturally ground by the wicked. But with the death of an elder, won't the money gang retaliate? Retaliate my ass. That person is a martial arts grandmaster. How dare the money gang retaliate? Now the money gang is anxious, afraid the Bat King will come for them and die an unnatural death. A bunch of bullies. They say we are cowardly, but they're no different when encountered with true power. It's truly laughable. The numerous residents gossiped and ridiculed the people of the money gang with cold sarcasm. They felt the death of He Yuliang and others was like Providence, finally giving them a vent for their grievances. Years of hatred were finally released. A few more days passed. Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei continued to live in the basement comfortably. After all, they didn't lack food and could enjoy feasts every day. Apart from not being able to go outside, life was quite comfortable. It's said that many residents of Yun City are extremely hungry, considering it rather affluent if they can eat one meal a day. Sometimes they can eat a meal only every 2 days. You can imagine how scarce food is in Yun City now. During this time, the streets of Yun City were full of tension. A large number of government officials were sent out to capture strong men, forcing the residents to serve as cannon fodder against the Red Eyebrow Army. The battles between the two sides are increasingly fierce, with significant casualties every day. But he was hiding in the basement, so no one knew his whereabouts, allowing him to escape the government's conscription, avoiding a calamity. At least there would be no direct conflict with the government. After all, it's a war between the Red Eyebrow Army and the court, which has little to do with him. He's just a small figure in tumultuous times, hardly worth mentioning. His presence hardly matters. Husband, thankfully, we found a hidden basement. We can hide here temporarily. Otherwise, we might have been taken as cannon fodder like the other neighbors. I wonder how long this war will last. Su Weiwei felt incredibly fortunate. In a sense, those government people are more detestable than the Red Eyebrow Army. Because the government people not only take money, but also take lives. Having lived in Yun City for such a long time, she felt the residents' lives weren't much better than fishermen's, sometimes even more miserable. If one loses their job, they might starve to death. Protect their jobs, the residents of Yun City have to swallow their pride. It probably won't last too long. Yun City may not be able to withstand the Red Eyebrow Army's attack. Jiang Fan squinted his eyes. He could actually sense the government's anxiety. If they really had the advantage, why would they be desperately conscripting? A small number of elite soldiers are actually stronger than a large number of common people. The reason for this situation is that the government has exhausted its means. They can only rely on a large number of ordinary people to fight. Chapter 108, Chapter 88, Annihilate Money Gang, Yun City Falls, the Great Calamity arrives /4. But such a situation is absolutely impossible to sustain and will sooner or later collapse. However, this has little to do with him. As long as he sits back and watches the storm, that will be enough. Just as Jiang Fan predicted, unexpectedly, an incident occurred late that night. The granaries of Yun City were set ablaze by Red Eyebrow Army spies. Every granary was engulfed in roaring flames. A massive amount of grain was reduced to ashes. Even though the government of Yun City later caught the arsonist spies, it was to no avail. After all, the grain had already been destroyed and could not be restored. It's over, Yun City is completely finished. Every granary has been burned, losing a massive amount of grain. If this continues, we will all starve to death. Without the grain from these granaries, how can we feed the million residents of Yun City? The Red Eyebrow Army doesn't even need to attack. Simply besieging Yun City will cause us to collapse without a fight. No matter how strong the city walls are, they cannot withstand internal chaos. There's no way. The government is corrupt. Exorbitant taxes and levies make life unbearable. Countless people have defected to the Red Eyebrow Army. Trying to root out Red Eyebrow Army spies is virtually impossible. The crowd murmured, their faces full of despair. Some insightful individuals immediately realized that Yun City could not be defended. Without the grain from these granaries, Yun City would hardly last more than 3 days. Originally, some people from Yun City did not want to surrender to the Red Eyebrow Army. But witnessing this situation, they also knew the tide had turned. If they continued fighting stubbornly, when the Red Eyebrow Army attacked, they would surely be doomed. So why not surrender directly to the Red Eyebrow Army and wear their guilt like a badge of honor? The 3 great families of Yun City, Lu family, Mu family, and Zai family, also looked grim. Because this city belonged to them. Once breached, they would be the first to bear the brunt. Ordinary people could surrender, but how could the 3 great families surrender? The Red Eyebrow Army would never allow them to surrender. They only had the path to fight the Red Eyebrow Army to the end. Despicable and shameless Red Eyebrow Army actually sent someone to burn the grain of Yun City. Patriarch Lu Kai, was enraged and wished he could catch all those Red Eyebrow Army spies and dismember them. Originally, he intended to use the high walls of Yun City to block the attacks of the Red Eyebrow Army. But now it seems this is impossible. Without grain, in just 3 days they would be too weak to fight. Of course, these noble families had stored plenty of grain. But it was only enough for these noble families to eat. It couldn't possibly satisfy the hunger of Yun City's million residents. Even if they wanted to defend the city, others in Yun City probably wouldn't agree. Indeed, we have underestimated the Red Eyebrow Army. This time we indeed failed. Find an opportunity to break out. As long as there are green hills left, there will be no shortage of firewood. Patriarch Zai Qin, sighed, knowing that continuing to fight in Yun City holds no chance of victory. The Red Eyebrow Army needs to do nothing. Simply besieging Yun City would trap them here to their death. Why not take advantage of the strength they still possess and attempt to break through? In doing so, there might still be a sliver of hope. That Chen Yachuan is truly extraordinary. Destroyed the hundreds of years' foundation of our 3 great families. But the opponent's victory is only temporary. Sooner or later, we will return and avenge. Patriarch Mu Yue also felt it was time to break through. If they remained besieged any longer, the soldiers might become too weakened from hunger. Once that happens, any attempt to break out would be even more impossible. Better to fight to the death now, while they still have strength. Thus, even if the Red Eyebrow Army wanted to annihilate them, they would have to pay a heavy price. There's no other choice. Patriarch Lu Kai reluctantly said, knowing this was the best decision. Staying here forcibly would only lead to a dead end. He could die, but the Lu family cannot perish. At least, they must ensure the continuation of the Lu family. For the moment, Lu family, Mu family, and Zai family started to prepare for the breakout. Of course, they did not plan to inform others. After all, there were too many spies from the Red Eyebrow Army. More people involved would increase the risk of leaks. Since they planned to break out, the purpose was to catch the enemy off guard. If discovered by the enemy, the success rate would greatly decrease. Chapter 109, Chapter 89, Safely Crossing the Tribulation, Gaining a 5th Grade Opportunity. Another day passed late at night. Yun City Gates. Many soldiers looked distracted, with growling stomachs, their faces full of worry. Due to the burned granaries, they lacked food and had been hungry for a day. They didn't know how much longer they could endure. Some even thought of directly surrendering to the Red Eyebrow Army, but seeing some government soldiers nearby, they held back, not daring to act rashly. Undoubtedly, emotions were unstable now. A sense of unease had long spread through the entire army. Rumble tilde tilde. At this moment, many soldiers suddenly acted, killing the surrounding government soldiers immediately, and before the other government soldiers could react, opened the city gates quickly. The prepared Red Eyebrow Army charged in, seizing the gates and occupying the walls at once. In no time, the entire gate fell completely. A large number of Red Eyebrow Army charged in. Drop your weapons immediately. Dare to resist, kill without mercy. No need to share life and death with those dog officials. We are all brothers and sisters. That's right, the Red Eyebrow Army is here in Yun City to kill the dog officials, brothers and sisters. Don't follow them to their deaths. Join my Red Eyebrow Army. Everyone will have clothes to wear and food to eat. Suddenly, people from the Red Eyebrow Army shouted loudly, persuading these government soldiers to surrender. Upon hearing these words, many soldiers saw the tide turning and also dropped their weapons, surrendering to the Red Eyebrow Army. After all, they indeed didn't want to die for those dog officials. It can be said that the Red Eyebrow Army effortlessly took the gate. This news quickly reached the noble descendants of Yun City. They were dumbfounded, almost unable to believe the information they knew. Originally, they had prepared to break through. Who would have thought before they could even break through, the Red Eyebrow Army had already charged in. This caught them unprepared, not knowing what had happened. Damn, someone colluded with the Red Eyebrow Army, opened Yun City gates, and let the Red Eyebrow Army in. Patriarch Lu Kai was furious. He never expected that at the crucial moment, traitors would make such a decision, breaking the plan of the three great families at once. But even if they wanted revenge on the traitors, it wasn't possible. There simply wasn't enough time. Once the Red Eyebrow Army charged in, they were bound to die. Patriarch, what should we do now? Many elders of the Lu family were anxious. They had lived in luxury for so long, always wielded power, practically became the sky of Yun City. But now, in the blink of an eye, they might become prisoners. Might even be beaten to death by a bunch of mud-legged people. They trembled uncontrollably. No matter what, they couldn't face such an end. Escape immediately. While the Red Eyebrow Army hasn't completely occupied Yun City, we still have a chance to escape Yun City. The Lu family must not perish in our hands. Patriarch Lu Kai, roared angrily, planning to lead a large number of Lu family army to break out. In an instant, the entire Yun City plunged into flames of war. The Red Eyebrow Army fought a fierce battle with the noble families. Even grandmasters personally took action. On the other hand, at the Red Eyebrow Army headquarters, the leader Chen Yachuan, along with the 5 grandmasters he invited from all over the Great Way, namely soul-severing saber Zhang Gang, life-chasing spear Chen Qing, soul-seizing whip Qian Chung, funeral axe Zhao Hao, and blood hand Du Sha. Each was in their 40s or 50s, with strong vitality, renowned in the martial world, all leaders of various forces. But they were convinced by Chen Yachuan to work for him. Haha, after such a long siege, Yun City has finally been breached by us. The 3 great families of Yun City are not much after all. Soul-severing saber Zhang Gang laughed heartily, feeling very joyful. After all, the siege dragged on for so long with no progress, causing significant casualties. If things continued this way, even with the numerous Red Eyebrow Army soldiers, it couldn't be sustained. Fortunately, at this point, we finally breached the gates of Yun City. Once we occupied this city, the Red Eyebrow Army could have a base. Then we can use Yun City to attack in all directions and capture the entire Wei Kingdom. The 3 great families of Yun City have committed countless evil deeds and wronged Yun City for years. They've long invoked wrath and discontent. I hardly had to act, just a little strategy, and countless people flocked to my Red Eyebrow Army. If it weren't for these families invoking wrath and discontent, our Red Eyebrow Army wouldn't have been so smooth. Chen Yachuan smiled slightly. He also felt the attack on Yun City was very smooth this time. However, it wasn't because of his cleverness, but purely because the 3 great families in Yun City were unpopular. In their helplessness, the residents of Yun City had to swallow their anger. But once they saw hope, they flocked in and joined the Red Eyebrow Army. This allowed the Red Eyebrow Army to advance with unstoppable momentum. Simply omnipotent. The three great families will be brought to an end today. Even more importantly, the immortal token they possess must be ours. Absolutely cannot let these guys escape. Life-chasing Spear Chen Qing said with a murderous air. He agreed to join Chen Yiachuan and become a member of the Red Eyebrow Army. It wasn't just for the simple reason of riches and fame. More importantly, the three great families of Yun City possessed the immortal token. If they could obtain the immortal token, they could enter the immortal cave mansion and receive the immortal inheritance. Chapter 110, Chapter 89, Safely Crossing the Tribulation, Gaining a 5th Grade Opportunity /2. To be honest, their strength has already reached the pinnacle of the mortal realm. If they want to advance further, the only path is to embark on the road of cultivation. It can be said that these 5 grandmasters are all here for this purpose. Everything else is irrelevant in their eyes. Don't worry, I've been watching the movements of the 3 great families for a long time. There's no way I'm letting them escape Yun City. However, the 3 great families have had the immortal token for so long, they might have already nurtured cultivators. Offending them could lead to endless troubles. What's there to fear? One lives no more than 100 years. As long as we slay them and seize the immortal token, gaining the immortal's legacy, we can go anywhere in this vast world. Exactly, even if there are cultivators backing the 3 great families, they likely left the mortal world long ago. By the time they learn of this, we would have long gone. That's right today, none of the people from the 3 great families should dream of escaping. To become a cultivator, some sacrifices are worth it. The 5 grandmasters said with murderous intent. In their quest to obtain the immortal's legacy, they abandoned everything. They didn't care about the upcoming consequences. Even if it implicated their families in the future, so what? They might be dead by then. I'd rather wrong the world than let the world wrong me. On the other hand, in the Li family mansion, the basement, Jiang Fan was originally in a state of deep sleep with his wife Su Weiwei when suddenly, there came a rumbling sound, accompanied by the clash of swords, the shouts of battle, overwhelmingly noisy. Even though they were in the basement, they could hear it clearly. What's going on? Why is it so noisy? Su Weiwei opened her eyes in a daze, not knowing what had happened. She lazily stretched out her body, revealing her stunning figure, captivating in every way. I'm afraid the Red Eyebrow Army has already broken in. Jiang Fan squinted his eyes as he listened to the sounds coming from the ground. Having advanced to a martial arts grandmaster, his 5 senses grew increasingly powerful, allowing him to hear sounds from hundreds of meters away and distinguish different voices. Thus, after a brief listen, he knew what was happening. A fierce battle was raging outside. The government troops and the noble descendants were locked in a deadly struggle with the Red Eyebrow Army. Ordinary people could surrender to the Red Eyebrow Army, but they couldn't. If they surrendered, they'd be prisoners, losing all their assets. Broken in, how could it be so fast? Su Weiwei was stunned. She originally thought that this war would last at least 1 or 2 months, maybe even longer. After all, attacking a fortified city like Yun City isn't as simple as imagined. Who could have thought that in just a few days, Yun City would be breached? Not sure. But for us, it's a good thing. After all, this way, the war can end quickly and peace can be restored. Jiang Fan smiled slightly. Anyway, he's just an outsider. It doesn't matter much to him who wins. To be honest, he was more interested in gradually cultivating, breaking through to become an innate martial artist, nurturing his own spirit root, and then set foot on the path of cultivation. That's true. Su Weiwei nodded, agreeing with his point. It's just 2 factions vying for power anyway. As ordinary people, what they want most is for peace to be restored quickly, without more war. If the Red Eyebrow Army could swiftly seize the world and restore peace, that would be better. Several more days passed. The internal battles in Yun City had gradually subsided. The Red Eyebrow Army completely occupied the city, becoming the new masters of Yun City. Meanwhile, order in Yun City was restored once again. Under the leadership of Chen Yiachuan, Yun City did not experience any massacres. So even though the residents were terrified of the Red Eyebrow Army, they gradually accepted their rule. Compared to the greedy and incompetent government, the current Red Eyebrow Army was slightly better. It's over, the war has finally ended. Hey, it's not that simple, it's just the beginning. Exactly. Do you think the court will just sit by while the Red Eyebrow Army occupies Yun's prefecture? That's true. Once the court learns of this, they'll certainly dispatch another army. Whether the Red Eyebrow Army can withstand them is still uncertain. But regardless, those noble families in Yun City suffered terribly, being searched and exterminated by the Red Eyebrow Army. Even those which existed for hundreds of years couldn't avoid being wiped out. The most miserable was the Lu family. They were specifically targeted by the Red Eyebrow Army during the Three Great Families breakout. Many family elders and elites died. Even the clan leader Lu Kai was killed on the spot. No way is Lu Kai a martial arts grandmaster. He died too. Heh, so what if he's a martial arts grandmaster? The Red Eyebrow Army has grandmasters too. Under the assault of many grandmasters, Lu Kai couldn't hold on and was inevitably defeated. However, despite this, some elites of the other two great families managed to escape. They weren't completely annihilated. That's quite normal. After all, these noble descendants are martial artists. If they were all fearless, the damage to the Red Eyebrow Army would be severe. So to avoid heavy casualties, the Red Eyebrow Army didn't intend to fight to the last with them and left them a way out. But either way, the Lu family, Mu family, and Zai family have likely vanished from Yun City. It's almost impossible for them to return anytime soon. That's beneficial for us too. None of those noble families were good. Our tough lives were all thanks to those noble families. The crowd discussed fervently. They felt the oppressive mountain over their heads had finally vanished, giving them some mental relief. Over the years, they were oppressed by the noble families, forced into slavery with no power to resist. Now those oppressors have finally disappeared. Of course, this only brought them a moment of relief. No one knows for sure what the days ahead will bring. Meanwhile, in the Li family mansion, the basement. Is the war truly over? Things seem better now. Taking the opportunity, Jiang Fan went out to gather some information and found that Yun City had returned to its usual calm. Having stayed hidden in the basement, he survived the calamity, avoiding numerous dangers. If he had been outside, who knows what would have happened amidst the battle between the Red Eyebrow Army and the government. Hiding in this secretive place proved to be a wise decision. But he hasn't decided what to do next. Should he continue living hidden in Yun City, or flee to another place away from the chaos? Boom tilde tilde. Just then, a message suddenly surged from the depths of his consciousness. At the end of the dynasty, amidst the uprising, you and your wife Su Weiwei hid, safely passing through and avoiding calamity. You've gained 1,000 luck points and a 5th grade opportunity. What? Receiving this message, Jiang Fan's pupils contracted, his heart stirred with great waves. He never expected that merely hiding in the basement could earn him so many luck points. More importantly, he gained a 5th grade opportunity. Although he had obtained opportunities before, he had never reached the 5th grade level. Previously, he only received 7th grade opportunities. That already brought him numerous benefits. Now a 5th grade opportunity appeared. Once obtained, it's unimaginable what treasures he could acquire. To gain so much luck. It means this calamity was immense, with many noble families perishing. Their destiny was devoured by my life chart. Thus I gained such vast luck. Jiang Fan's eyes shone brightly, feeling highly excited. This is what's called a whale fall, and all things thrive. Though these noble families were destroyed, their declining destinies were captured by his life chart, becoming sustenance, helping him grow rapidly. Indeed, amidst chaos, while dangers are immense, the benefits upon survival are abundant. Chapter 111, Chapter 90, Advancement to Innate, Nurturing the Spirit Root. Dong. Thinking of this, Jiang Fan moved his thoughts and gently clicked on the opportunity light point. Then a stream of information surged into the depths of his sea of consciousness like a tide. 7 days later, head to the deepest part of Yunmeng Lake, hold the token, and enter the immortal cave mansion with your wife Su Weiwei to obtain a 5th grade opportunity. What? Upon hearing this, Jiang Fan's eyes revealed a gleam. He had been wondering where this 5th grade opportunity came from, and now it seemed it truly originated from the immortal cave mansion. After all, the most mysterious place in Yunmeng Lake is this immortal cave mansion. The 3 great families of Yun City have stood for hundreds of years because of this. Moreover, they failed the assessments after entering the immortal cave mansion. Even the rewards obtained after failure benefited them immensely. If one succeeds in passing the assessments, the benefits obtained would be unimaginable. To actually enter the immortal cave mansion with Su Weiwei. It means that this time, Weiwei entering the mansion can also gain benefits. That's right, Weiwei's constitution is inherently special, perhaps possessing spiritual root talent. So obtaining benefits in the immortal cave mansion is only natural. Jiang Fan clenched his fists. Previously, Su Weiwei had been cultivating the cyan wood formula, but due to the poor cultivation environment in the mortal world, she had not yet become a beginner nor mastered this spell. If she enters the immortal cave mansion, it might solve this problem. However, we need to wait 7 days, and we cannot go yet. Perhaps during this time, I can break through to the Grandmaster realm and become an innate martial artist. Jiang Fan thought of the 1,000 luck points he had obtained. Know that he initially had 1,560 luck points, and adding these, he now possessed a total of 2,560 luck points. To advance to the innate martial artist level, he only needed 2,000 luck points. Thus the luck points he held were entirely sufficient. He felt that needing to wait 7 days might be a reminder from the opportunity to quickly become an innate martial artist, and thus nurture a spirit root during this time. Only with spiritual root talent can one possibly pass the assessments of the immortal cave mansion. Let's begin. Without any hesitation, Jiang Fan came to a room nearby and began to consume his luck points. Boom tilde tilde. Suddenly, 1,800 luck points were instantly consumed, transforming into a mysterious energy, sinking into the depths of his sea of consciousness, circulating every corner of his body. At this moment, he sensed the chi force in his elixir field, and sea of chi increasing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Originally, to fill the chi force in the Danshan would take more than several years. But with the help of luck points, it filled the chi force in the elixir field and sea of chi in an instant. Vaguely countless streams of chi force gathered, seemingly forming clouds and mist. Deep in the mist, a soaring snake appeared, soaring through the sky, just like cloud riding, emitting a sacred aura as if it were divine in this dimension. Want to break through to become an innate martial artist. It requires the fusion of chi force and martial Tao will within, then attacking the mud palace pill. Once the mud palace pill is opened, this acupoint can resonate with heaven and earth, achieve heavenly human communication, thus forming an acquired spirit root, reaching the level of nurturing a spirit root, thereafter sensing the spiritual chi between heaven and earth. To some extent, this is also postnatal returning to innate. In this way, one can truly embark on the path of cultivation. Jiang Fan recalled the numerous martial Tao messages he had received before. He had a clear understanding of his road. With self-hard work, he didn't know how many years it would take to truly reach the level of innate martial artist. But with the help of luck points, he saved a lot of time and effort in hard practice. He reached Grandmaster perfection in an instant, gaining the opportunity to impact the innate martial artist. Rumble tilde tilde. Suddenly, Jiang Fan sensed his soul power reaching an unprecedented level, entering the state of unity of heaven and man, as if achieving introspection. At this moment, he also understood why only grandmasters who comprehend martial Tao can advance to the innate realm. Because only grandmasters who comprehend martial Tao their soul will transform, allowing them to sense the mud palace pill deep inside. If it's not sensed, there's no talk of impacting the innate realm. Dong. Jiang Fan also discovered that his soul power was incredibly strong, at least several times stronger than ordinary grandmasters. Perhaps due to being a traverser, his soul power was extremely strong. He easily found his mud palace pill. This is a special acupoint located in the brain. In an instant, Jiang Fan ran the soaring snake breathing technique, mobilizing the soaring snake chi force in the depths of the elixir field and sea of chi, merged with soul power, transformed into streams of soaring snake airflow, heading towards the mud palace pill to attack. Boom tilde tilde. Immediately, a soaring snake rode clouds with terrifying force, fiercely striking the mud palace pill. The originally solid bottleneck shattered into pieces after one collision. Frankly, if it were an ordinary grandmaster, to impact the bottleneck of the mud palace pill, one must try tens or even hundreds of times for the bottleneck to show a slight crack. Chapter 112, Chapter 90, Advancement to Innate, Nurturing the Spirit Root /2. Once the chi force within the body is completely exhausted, then the attempt to break through the bottleneck will utterly fail. In that case, the Mud Palace Pill's door will be completely shut, and there will be no more opportunities for a breakthrough in the future. However, Jiang Fan, who has cultivated the soaring snake technique, is different. This is a top-tier martial arts technique. Once successfully cultivated, the chi force contained within the body is several times, even more than 10 times, that of other grandmasters. Moreover, the quality is also superior. If combined with powerful soul power, breaking through the Mud Palace Pill is a sure thing. Of course, if Jiang Fan singularly crashes through and opens the Mud Palace Pill's door in one go, it would be unprecedented. Boom tilde tilde. In the next second, the soaring snake chi force instantly surged in, akin to a fish leaping the dragon gate, causing the Mud Palace Pill to undergo a dramatic change. As if at this moment, natural forces of heaven and earth resonated with the Mud Palace Pill. A mysterious natural power came from all directions, penetrating deep into his sea of consciousness. Jiang Fan sat cross-legged on the ground, suddenly discovering that his way of perceiving the world had completely changed, and his soul power had undergone an unprecedented transformation. Deep within the Mud Palace Pill, a mysterious seed seemed to appear, deeply rooting itself within, beginning to sprout, as if resonating with the world. Like a conduit, it connected this world. In that instant, his soul power also transformed, seemingly giving birth to spiritual sense. Unbelievable, is this the power of an innate martial artist? Jiang Fan's eyes revealed a shocking gleam. He understood that an innate martial artist is actually equivalent to a cultivator at the chi cultivation stage. People born with spirit roots are naturally innate martial artists. Ordinary people must painstakingly train in the martial Tao to step into the innate realm. Yet those born with spirit roots become innate martial artists from their very first cultivation. Though it seems unfair, there's no other choice. There are many unfair things in this world. Like the son of a billionaire, born with wealth that an average person could not attain in 10 lifetimes, even all the money earned through immense effort would be merely a day's interest for them. This is the unreasonable nature of talent. After stepping into the innate realm, the chi force within the body undergoes dramatic changes. It will transform into primordial chi force. But according to a cultivator's explanation, the so-called primordial chi force is actually the spiritual power of a cultivator. It's a unique energy condensed from the fusion of chi force within the body and soul power. A wisp of spiritual power can easily crush dozens of wisps of a grandmaster's chi force. Moreover, spiritual power contains many wonderful uses. Jiang Fan's eyes flickered. He sensed that the chi force deep within his dantian and sea of chi instantly disappeared, transformed into wisps of spiritual power, hovering like clouds deep within the dantian and sea of chi. Yet each wisp of spiritual power was incredibly potent in energy and destructive power, far beyond what the previous grandmaster's chi force could compare. Thunk. Thinking of this, Jiang Fan's mind moved, slightly stirring, instantly activating the spiritual power within his body, and then a finger shot out. A terrifying spiritual power burst forth. Like an arrow, it instantly pierced through the wall ahead, leaving a small pit, with a large amount of rubble falling from the wall. This power is incredibly terrifying. If it struck a mortal, or even a grandmaster, it would rend the grandmaster's body into pieces. Too monstrous. Jiang Fan was speechless, realizing the gap between a cultivator and a martial artist. It was simply not even on the same level. Just a wisp of spiritual power within the body could instantly obliterate a martial arts grandmaster. What's more terrifying is that a cultivator also nurtures spiritual sense. The power of spiritual sense can easily lock onto a mortal's vital points. Wherever it is aimed, it strikes. It means, if noted by a cultivator, then one would be annihilated instantly, unable to resist. Even if a martial arts grandmaster excels in movement techniques, it would be futile. It's like being targeted by a missile. The two are not of the same dimension. He felt that compared to before, he had become at least 10 times stronger. One could say, now with just a thought he could instantly kill his former self, completely unstoppable. In some ways, he now counts as a cultivator at the first layer chi cultivation stage. Moreover, now in my dantian and sea of chi, at least dozens of wisps of spiritual power have been born. Through introspection, Jiang Fan sensed the condition within his dantian and sea of chi. Generally, when a martial arts grandmaster advances to the innate, they may produce at most 2 or 3 wisps of spiritual power, which is already quite exceptional. After all, the amount of spiritual power is related to the original amount of chi force of the Grandmaster. The more chi force, the more spiritual power can be converted. As Jiang Fan, who cultivates the soaring snake technique, has a considerable amount of Grandmaster's chi force within him. After advancing to the innate realm, such vast chi force rapidly converted into spiritual power, yielding at least dozens of wisps. It can be said that from the start, he was above other innate martial artists. Undoubtedly, spiritual sense and spiritual power are standard for cultivators. Previously, the storage bag and the space ring he obtained. Mortals can't open them because they lack spiritual sense and spiritual power. So even if mortals obtain immortal treasures, it is futile. They can only stare blankly. Wait, is this the spiritual chi scattered in the world? At this moment, Jiang Fan's heart stirred. He activated the power of spiritual sense, starting to perceive the natural world around him. Suddenly, he discovered the world was nurturing strands of heaven and earth spiritual chi. If he hadn't nurtured spirit roots, he wouldn't have been able to perceive the existence of spiritual chi. Even if he could perceive the existence of spiritual chi, he wouldn't be able to absorb it for his use. At this moment, he sensed that with a thought, he seemed to catch a wisp of spiritual chi between heaven and earth. This wisp of spiritual chi was then devoured by the spirit root, entering his body, quickly refined into spiritual power. But because the devoured spiritual chi was too little, the converted spiritual power was practically insignificant. No wonder this is the mortal world, with practically no trace of cultivators. The spiritual chi here is so sparse. Even if a prodigiously talented cultivator came here, they'd likely be unable to improve their cultivation. No wonder Wei Wei has been unable to begin cultivation and introduce chi into her body for so long. Jiang Fan sensed the difficulty of cultivation in this world. If one cannot devour a large amount of spiritual chi, then the spiritual power within cannot grow. Thus, his cultivation would naturally be unable to improve swiftly, eventually remaining stuck at this realm, unable to achieve a breakthrough. If he wants to progress further, he still needs to enter the cultivation realm. The soaring snake technique is already cultivated to its peak. To continue cultivation, I must switch to cultivation techniques. Although now I have obtained 2 cultivation techniques, they seem quite ordinary. It's better to wait and first obtain the immortal cave mansion's inheritance. Jiang Fan fell into contemplation. If he hadn't obtained the 5th grade opportunity, then naturally he would want to cultivate those 2 cultivation techniques now. But since he got the 5th grade opportunity and has a chance to acquire better techniques, he can afford to wait. After all, it's just 6 or 7 days. He's not in a hurry. For cultivators, a solid foundation is of paramount importance. Start early, always lead. High-grade techniques certainly surpass low-grade ones without question. But what grade is my spirit root? Is it a low-grade spirit root, middle-grade spirit root, or high-grade spirit root? Jiang Fan was quite curious. After all, the grade of his spirit root relates to his future cultivation path. The higher the grade of the spirit root, the better. Who would dislike having excellent talent? But he felt, having cultivated the soaring snake technique to the perfection level and gained the assistance of luck points, that his nurtured spirit root talent wouldn't be too poor. Right, the virtual panel should record the information about me. Suddenly, Jiang Fan couldn't help but think of this, given that his virtual panel can display various information about him, and perhaps could also show his spirit root talent. Chapter 113, Chapter 91, Cultivating Earth Spirit Root Talent. Thinking of this, Jiang Fan didn't hesitate and immediately opened the virtual panel on his body. Name Jiang Fan. Life chart, great blessings equal to heaven attribute, escaping great danger future blessings. Lifespan 120. Spirit root, earth spirit root. Luck points 760. Cultivation technique, soaring snake technique incomplete, 7th layer cannot be enhanced. Skills fishing, perfection. Disguise technique, perfection cows poison scripture, mastery aurora swordsmanship, perfection. Realm, 1st layer chi cultivation 1%. What? Seeing the series of information, Jiang Fan's pupils contracted. He was simply incredulous. His spiritual root talent had actually reached the level of earth spirit root. It was utterly unimaginable. According to the cultivation information he obtained earlier, The spiritual roots of many cultivators in the cultivation realm were divided into low-grade spirit root, middle-grade spirit root, high-grade spirit root, earth spirit root, and celestial spirit root. The vast majority of cultivators actually only possess the talent of a low-grade spirit root. These figures are also the bottom-tier cultivators in the cultivation realm. They can only do some menial work all their lives. Wanting to advance further is basically impossible. As for those with middle-grade spiritual root talent, they barely catch the attention of some cultivation sects. If their will and comprehension are good, they can become outer sect disciples. With some effort and the aid of opportunities, they might become foundation establishment cultivators. If one possesses top-grade spiritual root talent, then no sect assessment is needed. They can become sect disciples directly, even an inner sect disciple with ease. Such people can be called geniuses. But such people are really too few, not scarce to the point of being able to count on one's fingers, but quite rare indeed. 1 in every 100 can be considered. As for the earth spirit root, it is the genius among geniuses, who will completely be cultivated as true disciples. To say they appear once in 100 years is not an exaggeration. And the celestial spirit root is purely an encounter one can't seek, said to appear once in a millennium. Many sects are eager for them. He never expected that his postnatal returning to innate, breaking through the quality, unexpectedly resulted in nurturing earth spirit root talent. If someone with his talent appeared in the cultivation realm, it would certainly become highly sought after by many sects. No wonder I could pass the immortal cave mansion's test. If one possesses earth spirit root talent, no sect would ignore it. But why I nurtured earth spirit root is also quite unbelievable. Jiang Fan marveled endlessly. He initially thought nurturing middle-grade spirit root, or even high-grade spirit root would be pretty good. This actually puts one above a significant number of cultivators. As for achieving earth spirit root, it's purely beyond his imagination. But upon careful reflection, aside from the relations with the soaring snake technique, the main reason is his life chart. After expending a large amount of luck points, this mysterious energy can also help improve one's spiritual root talent. That's why his original top-grade spirit root talent was forcibly enhanced to earth spirit root talent. This is also a good thing. Since becoming a cultivator, naturally having higher spiritual root talent is better. No wonder I can sense the spiritual chi between heaven and earth so clearly. Turns out it is because of my earth spirit root. Jiang Fan blinked his eyes. Actually, just now he also noticed that his experience seemed a bit different from what Taoist Liu and the ancestor of the Li family described earlier. After all, when these two bottom-tier cultivators described their cultivation experience, they mentioned their efficiency in devouring spiritual chi was extremely low, and for a long time, they couldn't devour much spiritual chi or convert much spiritual power. But he, even while in the mortal world, seemed able to absorb spiritual chi. His cultivation efficiency was far beyond their imagination. This is precisely the gap in talent. Lifespan has increased to 120 years too. Jiang Fan found himself quite satisfied. After all, who would complain about their lifespan being too long? It is said that the lifespan limit for chi cultivation stage cultivators is just 120 years. Unless one becomes a foundation establishment cultivator, lifespan may further skyrocket. But now it seems, the difference in lifespan between mortals and chi cultivation stage cultivators is not too vast. Even if mortals take the martial path and nurture a spirit root, they're simply on the same starting line as ordinary cultivators. Moreover, for mortals to become innate martial artists without special opportunities, it takes at least 40 to 50 years. In this way, there's even less hope for advancing further. So, since ancient times, there have been very few mortals who can achieve immortality. Of course, it's not completely impossible, it's just that the chances are really low. Hugh. Another hour passed, and after Jiang Fan thoroughly stabilized his cultivation, he walked out of the practice chamber. At this moment, Su Weiwei had already prepared the meals, and the room was filled with the enticing aroma of delicious dishes. She was dressed in a red silk nightgown, wrapping her graceful figure tightly, showing an alluring curve, truly irresistibly seductive. Every move contained infinite charm. It seemed her physique was also continuously developing and evolving. The enchantment on her was growing stronger and stronger. Often a smile could fascinate people so much they lose themselves. Husband, Su Wai joyfully exclaimed upon seeing Jiang Fan come out, but she blinked her beautiful eyes, feeling her husband seemed somewhat different. Why do you seem different from before? Perhaps your cultivation has broken through. Chapter 114. Chapter 91, Cultivating Earth Spirit Root Talent /2. That's right. Jiang Fan nodded. As expected of my husband, truly impressive. It's a pity that I still can't get started with that cultivation technique. Su Weiwei looked at Jiang Fan with an expression of admiration. She knew how difficult the path of a martial artist was, and to see her own man improving his cultivation at such a rapid pace was nothing short of extraordinary. But she also thought of her own situation. She still hadn't managed to become a beginner after such a long time. Her talent must be too poor. If things continued like this, her man might abandon her. Never mind, as long as you practice diligently, it will be fine. I believe you will become a beginner soon. So let's train together. Jiang Fan wrapped his arms around Su Weiwei's slender waist, feeling the softness of her body as if she had no bones. The faint fragrance emanating from her was truly refreshing. He thought that the reason Su Weiwei hadn't started yet was purely because the cultivation environment in the mortal world was too poor, the spiritual qi too sparse. If they were to go to the cultivation realm and start with the cyan wood formula, it would be a matter of moments. But right now, he had no time to worry about cultivation. He just wanted to firmly discipline this woman right here and now. You scoundrel! Hearing this, Su Weiwei blushed, her beautiful eyes filled with allure. She wrapped her arms around Jiang Fan's neck. Not long after, the bed in the basement swayed, and sounds of spring reverberated. It seemed as if everything happening outside had nothing to do with them. The two completely immersed themselves in love. Meanwhile, within the Great Wei dynasty, inside the imperial palace, the entire sky above the palace seemed to be shrouded in black mist. From time to time, ghosts would appear, letting out terrifying howls. The vast palace was utterly silent. At the same time, the temperature was continuously dropping. The deeper one went into the palace, the lower the temperature, with frost forming on the ground, sending chills down the spine. At this moment, the Emperor of Great Wei, clad in a dragon robe, was kneeling before a palace, trembling like an ant whose life could be taken at any moment, not daring to breathe heavily. Sir, as per your instructions, the entire Wei kingdom is now in a state of unrest, with wars breaking out everywhere. There are peasant uprisings in various regions. There have been countless deaths and injuries recently, with 9 out of every 10 households emptied and bodies strewn everywhere. The Emperor of Great Wei spoke tremulously, kneeling on the ground. Though he was dim-witted, he was not stupid. He naturally understood that ruthless exploitation would lead to peasant uprisings and chaos across the land. But he had no other choice, for the cultivator hidden within the deep palace was truly terrifying. If he did not comply with the demands, the Great Wei royal family might be reduced to dust. Even as an emperor, there was no way to contend with a cultivator from the legends. He couldn't possibly stand against him. Not bad, you did very well. Recently, my 10,000 souls banner has gained many new resentful souls. Indeed, it still takes war to create a large number of resentful souls. How many could I Li Wujian kill on my own? A voice echoed from the deep palace, laughing heartily and joyfully. If he were to slaughter this many mortals in the cultivation realm, he would have long been hunted down by those renowned and righteous sects. Even if he had the strength of foundation establishment, there would be no escape for him. Thus, he had deliberately come to the mortal world, relying on the power of a mortal emperor to secretly incite wars, causing mortals to kill each other, and seizing the opportunity to harvest a large number of resentful souls for refining his 10,000 souls banner. In this way, even the renowned and righteous sects wouldn't notice anything. After all, it wasn't him personally taking action, just mortals slaughtering each other. As a demonic cultivator hated and hunted by all, he needed to be cautious. If he could avoid taking action, he would do so. As a demonic cultivator, he should plot in the shadows. Those reckless demon cultivators had been dead for many years. Even though he was a foundation establishment cultivator, it didn't mean he could act with impunity. There were many cultivators stronger than him. Sir, uprisings are occurring throughout the land. Many prefecture cities have fallen. If things continue this way, I'm afraid the foundation of the Great Wei royal family will not hold. The Emperor of Great Wei said sorrowfully. Don't worry. I won't let the Great Wei royal family perish. After all, I might come to harvest a batch of souls in the future. Perhaps your descendants might need to assist me then. I will help you exterminate all those rebellious armies. They won't be able to last long. Demon cultivator Li Wuliang said indifferently. For him, wiping out some mortals was just a wave of his hand, not worth mentioning, not even breaking a sweat. Moreover to him, the Great Wei royal family was akin to a dog, a loyal and dedicated dog. It could help him in dealing with some dirty affairs. Thank you, sir. Upon hearing this, the Emperor of Great Wei was overjoyed. As long as the practitioner before him agreed to take action, the current situation of Great Wei would quickly calm down. He could even take the opportunity to eliminate those unruly noble families, thoroughly solidifying the royal family's position. As for the lives and deaths of the ordinary commoners, they naturally weren't within his scope of consideration. Those ordinary people were akin to leeks, harvested batch after batch endlessly. As long as the royal family could maintain its legacy for thousands of years, that would be entirely sufficient. Underneath the throne were already buried piles of bones. Those fools thought they could shake his throne just by relying on rebellious armies. It was truly laughable. The holders of power in this world are not mortals, but practitioners. Mortal strength is truly powerless. Mere anger cannot change anything. Leave now, don't disturb my cultivation. Li Wuliang immediately issued the order to dismiss the guest. Yes, sir. The Emperor of Great Wei, upon hearing this, did not hesitate and quickly left. Yet his expression was very profound, revealing anger, fear, helplessness, and sadness deep within his pupils. Those mortals were ants, and so was he. Perhaps a bit stronger, but it couldn't change the essence of being an ant. But he was powerless to change anything. On the other hand, in Yun City Lord's mansion. At this moment, the entire mansion had been occupied by the Red Eyebrow Army, becoming its temporary headquarters. Leader Chen Yachuan, soul-severing saber Zhang Gang, life-chasing spear Chen Qing, soul-seizing whip Qianxia, funeral axe Zhao Hao, blood hand Du Sha, and other 5 martial arts grandmasters were surrounded by terrifying evil qi. What a pity we didn't completely wipe them out. Some elites from the Zai family, Mu family, and Lu family managed to escape. Soul-severing saber, Zhang Gang said regrettably. They originally intended to exterminate the 3 great families of Yun City, but when the real fight began, they found that the power these families possessed was beyond imagination. Faced with the desperate fight unto death from the family martial artists, the Red Eyebrow Army suffered heavy losses. Under such helpless circumstances, they could only let some elites from the 3 great families escape. Of course, even so, they managed to capture 2 or 3 martial Dao grandmasters from the 3 great families, including Patriarch Lu Kai. It was at least a means to save some face. No way they still have grandmasters. If a martial arts grandmaster is determined to escape, it's very difficult to kill them. We've gained quite a lot, it's fair enough. Especially obtaining this immortal token. With this immortal token, we'll be able to enter the immortal cave mansion. Life-chasing spear Chen Qing smiled faintly. This is the true reason why they agreed to join the Red Eyebrow Army. After all, as leaders of a faction, ordinary glory and wealth could no longer satisfy them. They merely aimed to embark on the path of seeking immortality. Leader Chen, I wonder how this immortal token is used. Soul-seizing Whip Qianxia asked curiously. The others also looked at Chen Yachuan in unison. It's quite simple. It's just waiting for the immortal cave mansion to appear. Once the immortal cave mansion emerges, the immortal token in our hands will emit light. Then the token will guide us to the immortal cave mansion, while tearing through the mist deep within Yunmeng Lake. 1 token can shelter 10 people to enter. So we all qualify to enter the immortal cave mansion and attempt to obtain the inheritance inside. Chen Yachuan's eyes showed a trace of excitement. To be honest, he was immensely curious about the immortal cave mansion as well, wanting to know what kind of inheritance it held inside. Chapter 115. Chapter 92. The power of innate, killing a grandmaster as easy as killing a chicken. When exactly will the immortal cave mansion reveal itself? Everyone was looking at Chen Yachuan. After all, if the immortal cave mansion appears too late, They feared their lifespan would be completely exhausted. By then, even if they entered the mansion at 70 or 80, it would be meaningless. There's no need to worry about that. In fact, those who obtained the immortal token weren't limited to the three great families. Besides them, there were also a few lucky individuals. According to the information I have, the immortal cave mansion appears once every 50 years. Based on the calculation of time, it should be within the next 6 months. It's even possible for it to appear as soon as tomorrow. Chen Yiachun gave a slight smile. The world speculated that he had received immortal inheritance, and indeed, their suspicions were correct. In a certain cave, he had obtained inheritance from a dying cultivator. He himself became the disciple of this cultivator. That's why his martial arts cultivation advanced so rapidly. Additionally, that cultivator had once entered the immortal cave mansion and obtained some inheritance. Unfortunately, his aptitude was not high. Even until his death, he was only at the 4th layer Qi cultivation. Because of this, he yearned immensely to obtain the immortal cave mansion's inheritance. This was his golden opportunity to leap like a fish over the dragon gate. If that's the case, then that's great. Everyone was overjoyed. If they didn't have to wait long, everyone would have the same chance. If that's true, then perhaps the martial arts grandmasters of the three great families might return. Someone's eyes flickered. If they do return, we can strike to kill and seize the immortal token. That's right. Honestly, I've brought along some family geniuses this time. If we can bring them together, perhaps we can also gain some benefits. If there's a chance, of course, we can attempt to seize the immortal token. Who'd mind having too many immortal tokens on them, but success is not guaranteed. Haha, as long as our 6 grandmasters join forces, who can be our match? The grandmasters were engaged in lively discussion. They believed with their strength there was no place in the world they couldn't go. As for cultivators, they had long disappeared from the mortal world, and it was impossible to encounter them. In the blink of an eye, 7 days passed in an instant. Under the rule of the Red Eyebrow Army, the entire Yun City gradually regained its past tranquility. At least, the residents of Yun City could walk on the streets again. However, due to the grain warehouse being burned down, Yun City lacked food supplies. Some ordinary people chose to leave Yun City to live elsewhere for survival. This made Yun City much more desolate compared to before. Of course, some people chose to fish at Yunmeng Lake. After all, the 800-mile Yunmeng Lake was abundant with fish. If there's a good catch, it could at least feed a family. Rumble tilde tilde. Just at that moment, there was a sudden tremor deep within Yunmeng Lake, as if an earthquake had struck, causing endless ripples to extend over 800 miles. Golden beams of light shot up from the depths of Yunmeng Lake, as if countless runes converged, forming giant golden rune pillars. Above the sky, numerous clouds gathered, forming golden lotus flowers. They exuded a sacred and ancient aura, attracting the boundless power of heaven and earth. The fish deep in Yunmeng Lake also swam frantically, moving toward other areas. Simultaneously, endless fog surged, swiftly spreading over Yunmeng Lake. Thus Yunmeng Lake was shrouded in white mist, obscuring what was happening inside. It was truly dreamlike and mystical. And this is the origin of Yunmeng Lake. This phenomenon astonished the residents of Yun City. Many were witnessing such a supernatural phenomenon for the first time. Some even fell to the ground in fear, crying out the coming of the immortal. What's happening? Why is there such a phenomenon? Haha, you all are too young. This is the phenomenon of the immortal cave mansion's appearance, which, as I know, occurs every 50 years, known only to some elders. I suppose most people who knew have passed away. No way, does this mean an immortal really exists deep in Yunmeng Lake? This is not baseless. Rumors like this spread widely for a reason. It's said that the 3 great families of Yun City rose to power all due to the immortal cave mansion. If that's true, then couldn't we enter the immortal cave mansion and gain the immortal's favor? Foolish. If it were that easy, wouldn't everyone obtain immortal inheritance? Many have tried to enter Yunmeng Lake's depths but turned into skeletons at the bottom. The residents of Yun City were engaged in heated discussions. In their hearts, they were equally astounded. Meanwhile, the emergence of such supernatural phenomena bred a sliver of ambition within countless people. What's going on? Jiang Fan, who had been in the basement, suddenly noticed that the mysterious token in his space ring started to tremble and buzz uncontrollably. It even flew out from the space ring directly. As it did, the token emitted golden light, buzzing incessantly. It seemed to resonate with the power deep within Yunmeng Lake. Actually, it wasn't just this mysterious token. All tokens showed similar phenomena. All tokens near Yunmeng Lake exhibited such manifestations. Chapter 116. Chapter 92. The power of innate killing grandmasters like slaughtering chickens /2. Fortunately, he was in the basement. Otherwise, someone else would have noticed something strange, and then he might have been exposed. Husband, what happened? Su Weiwei was bewildered, having no idea what had occurred. She watched the token floating midair with immense surprise. It seems the immortal cave mansion is about to emerge. Jiang Fan felt a strong sense of emotion, as the message from the light point deep within his conscious sea was incredibly precise. If it says 7 days, then it must be 7 days, not a single day less. When the 7 days are up, the 5th grade opportunity will appear. But he did not expect that the emergence of the immortal cave mansion would cause such an astonishing phenomenon between heaven and earth. Even this token started to vibrate. Indeed, now is the perfect time to head to Yunmeng Lake. The port of Yun City has many fishing boats. The power of a fishing boat can be used to reach the depths of Yunmeng Lake. Jiang Fan's eyes revealed a hint of coldness. He had already figured out a way to proceed to the depths of Yunmeng Lake. Yun City was originally built near Yunmeng Lake, along with a massive port. There are also a large number of fishing boats moored at the port. Moreover, due to the war, many fishing boats have become ownerless. Just the right opportunity to use these fishing boats to enter Yunmeng Lake. Has the immortal cave mansion appeared? Su Weiwei blinked her eyes, feeling very surprised. Let's go, we must seize the opportunity. Jiang Fan waved his big hand, immediately putting away the token and placing it on his body. Luckily, the token only quivered slightly and did not continue to tremble. It seemed as though the token and his aura had completely merged. All right. Su Weiwei nodded, obediently following Jiang Fan out. Half an hour later, Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei appeared on Yunmeng Lake. He spent only 80 taels of silver to buy an upturned boat from a fisherman and then headed to the depths of Yunmeng Lake. Naturally, the fisherman was also very happy, as the money was more than enough for him to live for a long time and even buy a new boat. To Jiang Fan, this money was nothing. As an innate martial artist, or a chi cultivation stage cultivator, earning money was incredibly easy. Not to mention, he had plenty of silver on him. Whoosh! Instantly, under Jiang Fan's control, the upturned boat swiftly sailed towards the depths of Yunmeng Lake. Of course, Jiang Fan's boat wasn't the only one on the lake. Due to the influence of the immortal cave mansion's appearance, many boats had set sail. But the entire lake's surface was shrouded by white mist, making it impossible to see each other. In the midst of many boats, his upturned boat seemed quite ordinary. Jiang Fan squinted his eyes, noticing the mysterious token on him was emitting an invisible force enveloping the entire fishing boat, as though it had gained some kind of empowerment. It accelerated towards the depths of Yunmeng Lake. Initially, he thought it would take several hours to reach. But now the upturned boat was like an arrow off the string, incredibly fast. In just half an hour, he found himself at the deepest part of Yunmeng Lake, this area enveloped by endless white fog, unable to see more than a meter ahead. He knew this area was considered a life-forbidden zone by the fishermen. The fishermen who approached this foggy area usually never returned. This was like a labyrinth on the lake. Over hundreds of years, who knows how many had been buried here. He could sense that in the depths of the lake, many strange fish, treasure fish, were swimming. Each of them exuded a powerful blood chi aura. Could it be that the treasure fish were nurtured by the immortal cave mansion? Jiang Fan couldn't help but contemplate this possibility. After all, treasure fish are unique to Yunmeng Lake. No other lakes produced so many treasure fish. He always harbored doubts about the origins of the treasure fish. Now it seemed they must be significantly related to the immortal cave mansion. Dong! At that moment, the mysterious token on him vibrated again, amazingly releasing a golden light. The golden light easily tore through the mist, creating a single passageway. Is this the token's function? Without the power of the token, anyone else coming here would be confused by the fog. It's simply impossible to approach the immortal cave mansion. Jiang Fan was amazed and eagerly anticipated. He felt this was the power of a cultivator, entirely unmatched by mortals. The power he had mastered before was merely the limit of a mortal. Before he could think much more, under the influence of the token's power, the boat sailed along the only passage towards the distance. In just a few minutes, he found the boat had arrived in front of a mysterious island. Docked at the shore, but he also noticed that he wasn't the only one who had reached this island. Besides himself, there were actually 7 or 8 groups of people. Among them was the Red Eyebrow Army. There were even noble families from Yun City in the past, such as the Mu family and the Zai family. And each of them was at least a martial arts grandmaster. They appeared on the island, all silent and extremely vigilant, as if wary of a sneak attack from each other. When Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei appeared here, they immediately attracted the crowd's attention. After all, the two looked pretty much like ordinary people, with no traces of martial arts training. Interesting, ordinary people actually got a token and came here. I don't know if you are lucky or unlucky. Zhang Gang with the soul-severing saber maliciously stared at Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei, openly showing his ill will, clearly targeting these 2 ordinary people to seize their tokens. After all, the immortal token is extremely important. Even if it can't be used now, it can be used in the future. For a grandmaster, it's a family heirloom that can create centuries of glory for a family. He couldn't touch others' tokens, but mere ordinary people, naturally, he could rob them. What do you mean? Jiang Fan looked at him calmly. He knew these martial arts grandmasters were mostly not good people, but he didn't expect to be targeted as soon as he arrived, being seen as easy prey. There's no choice. This is the nature of the soaring snake technique, allowing one to conceal their energy, making the body appear like an ordinary person, even to martial arts grandmasters, revealing nothing about him. Before taking action, he was just like an ordinary person. Exactly what it sounds like. Hand over your token immediately. This is not something you, ordinary people, are qualified to possess. Although I don't know where you got the immortal token. Such a treasure is not something you can covet. Chen Qing with the life-chasing spear sneered. Why bother talking to him? Just 2 lucky ordinary people. No matter how much you talk, he won't understand how precious the token is. Better just kill him. Xianxia with the soul-seizing whip couldn't be bothered with more words. He instantly made a move, wielding the soul-seizing whip, trying to kill Jiang Fan in one strike. As a martial arts grandmaster, killing 2 ordinary people was as easy as slaughtering chickens. But at that moment, Jiang Fan stood in place, casually pointing a finger. His internal spiritual power erupted instantly, transforming into a terrifying chi force. Like the 6 Meridian Divine Sword, incredibly fast and carrying brutal destructive power. Bang! The martial arts grandmaster Xianxia with the soul-seizing whip hadn't even reacted when the chi force instantly struck his head. Suddenly, his head burst like a watermelon, shattering into pieces. A large amount of blood flowed onto the ground. The headless corpse just fell to the ground, losing all signs of life. With just 1 finger, Jiang Fan killed Xianxia alive, the martial arts grandmaster. This is the might of an innate martial artist, killing a grandmaster as easily as slaughtering chickens. What? Witnessing this scene, the martial arts grandmasters present were stunned, their pupils contracted, watching in disbelief. None of them expected that this seemingly ordinary guy had such terrifying power. Xianxia with the soul-seizing whip was a renowned martial arts grandmaster for decades, with extraordinary combat power. But facing this young man, he was like an ant. The disparity was too vast. This meant that this young man was not just a martial arts grandmaster. He might have stepped into the legendary martial arts realm, the innate realm. Chapter 117, Chapter 93, Passing the Assessment, Top-Grade Spiritual Treasure Primordial Talisman Pen. Damn! Soul-severing saber Zhang Gang's face changed dramatically. He originally thought the opponent was a pushover, easily handled by him. Who could have expected that the opponent was actually a fierce tiger? This time he truly kicked a steel plate. But now even if he regrets it, it's already too late. His figure flickered, immediately wanting to leave here, heading deeper into the island. Yet before soul-severing saber Zhang Gang could take a step, Jiang Fan struck again with another finger flick. Dong! Instantaneously, without any chance to react, a terrifying invisible chi force attacked, blasting onto his head. His head immediately exploded, turning into minced meat. A large pool of blood appeared on the ground, along with a headless corpse. Too brutal. Seeing this scene, everyone shivered involuntarily. A chilling fear surged from deep within, their limbs turning cold. Outside they were lords, above countless people. With one order, they could make countless ordinary people's heads roll. But now, a martial arts grandmaster was killed like a chicken, with no resistance at all. This mysterious strong figure before them was terrifying, beyond their imagination. This lord. Misunderstanding, all a misunderstanding. Life-chasing spear Chen Qing was scared to wet his pants, hairs standing upright, trembling uncontrollably. Gone was his previous defiant, arrogant demeanor. Facing such an unimaginable powerful figure, killing him like a chicken, he couldn't act arrogantly at all. Now he regretted to the extreme. If he had known earlier how terrifying this person was, how could he dare provoke? But who could have imagined this ordinary young man was actually an innate martial artist? Dong. Before life-chasing spear Chen Qing could finish speaking, Jiang Fan again flicked a finger, spiritual power within exploding, forming another invisible chi force. Life-chasing spear Chen Qing wanted to say something, but it was too late. Instantaneously, his head was also blown apart, shattered. A lot of blood appeared on the ground. Everyone couldn't help but step back several steps, unanimously considering this mysterious strong figure as a peerless demon, as in several breaths, he had killed 3 grandmasters. It was the first time they realized how fragile they were. Though they knew that such monsters as cultivators truly existed in the world, they had never seen a true cultivator in action all these years. So these people didn't know to what extent cultivators were strong. But now, upon witnessing this mysterious strong figure in action, they felt immense despair at the huge gap between themselves and cultivators, innate martial artists. He didn't even need to sweat to kill these grandmasters. Do not worry, I'm not a bloodthirsty person. These 3 provoked me and showed killing intent. So I killed them, that's not excessive, right? Jiang Fan smiled slightly, looking at everyone, showing a kind smile. Not excessive, not excessive. Everyone shook their heads repeatedly, revealing fawning smiles. How could they dare say it was excessive? If they angered him, they might follow the 3 grandmasters' path. This Red Eyebrow Army Leader Chen Yachuan, Funeral Axe Zhao Hao, Blood Hand Du Sha, these 3 grandmasters dared not say anything. They thought their skills allowed them to roam anywhere in the world. Who could have thought, coming to this immortal cave mansion, 3 companions would die? Fortunately, they hadn't spoken earlier, otherwise, they too would have met their ends. This world is too vast with countless strong figures. Their skills really don't count as anything. All at once, everyone couldn't help but retreat several steps, distancing themselves from this killing god. Fearful their actions might anger him, and they'd end up completely doomed. Dong. At this moment, deep within Jiang Fan's consciousness, a message surged. Your decisive action, killing to shock and awe, avoiding a killing catastrophe, earned 800 luck points. Upon sensing this message, his heart was joyous. He didn't expect to have such an unexpected gain. Simply killing 3 ill-intentioned grandmasters, he actually received so many luck points. Perhaps these 3 grandmasters had considerable destiny upon them. After being killed, their destiny transferred to him. Adding in previous luck points, he has a total of 1,560 luck points. Quite a significant haul. Boom tilde tilde. Instantaneously, it seemed the entire island trembled, humming. An invisible force swept across everyone entering the island. White mist covered everyone, isolating them. At this moment, deep in the island, it seemed some creature awakened. Has 50 years passed again? Hopefully, I'll find some good seedlings to inherit the primordial talisman sex legacy. If I can't find suitable heirs, I'm afraid the legacy will truly vanish. Let's first see how this batch's aptitude fares. Alas, indeed the mortal world, all ordinary mortals without spirit roots. When will some geniuses with spirit roots arrive? Wait, this man and woman, the man has earth spirit root, the woman has high-grade spirit root, and she also has a special constitution. Chapter 118, Chapter 93, Passing the Assessment, Top-Grade Spiritual Treasure Primordial Talisman Pen \2. Have I finally turned my luck around? I've waited so long, and finally I've found some good seedlings. Heavens really haven't abandoned my primordial talisman sect. In the depths of the island, a voice said excitedly, seeming extremely thrilled. Boom tilde tilde. In the next second, an invisible force instantly enveloped Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei, immediately transporting the two to a massive palace deep within the island. What's happening? Both Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei were a bit bewildered. They originally thought the test of the immortal cave mansion was about to begin. But who could have imagined that in the blink of an eye, they would be transported to an unfamiliar place? Though it was indeed the power of an immortal cave mansion, something mortal men absolutely couldn't achieve. He looked around and discovered that this was merely an empty palace, barren inside. Swish! Suddenly, a dark golden brush appeared in midair, exuding a fearsome pressure, carved with dense talismans, seemingly drawing numerous heaven and earth spiritual chi around. At the same time, its brush tip contained terrifying power of sharpness, like the sharpest sword in the world. A gentle stroke could split mountains, sink lands, and carve through rivers. Congratulations to both of you on passing the test and joining my primordial talisman sect. The dark golden brush spoke, its voice reaching their ears. This brush seems to talk. Su Weiwei was instantly bewildered. In all her life, she'd never seen such a peculiar sight, truly inconceivable. What brush? I am the renowned top-grade spiritual treasure, primordial talisman pen. I'm also the inheritance artifact of the primordial talisman sect. You can call me Elder Fu. The dark golden brush muttered, asserting not to be just any brush but the primordial talisman pen, the famous top-grade spiritual treasure of immense power. Top-grade spiritual treasure. Jiang Fan and Su Weiwei blinked, looking puzzled at the dark golden brush. For they knew very little about matters of cultivation. Hearing this, the primordial talisman pen was speechless. Its words seemed like casting pearls before swine. It had forgotten these two were mere mortals, unfamiliar with the hierarchy of magical artifacts in the cultivation realm. Magical artifacts of the cultivation realm are categorized as magical artifact, spiritual artifact, magical treasure, spirit treasure, etc. Spirit treasures are possessions that only nascent soul cultivators can wield, of boundless might. If leaked enough to drive countless cultivators mad. Even nascent soul cultivators would personally strive to seize it. Undoubtedly, it was indeed a precious commodity. Forget it, forget it. You have not cultivated, and thus do not know my prowess. Overall, all you need to know is you've passed my test and become disciples of the primordial talisman sect. That's enough. The primordial talisman pen was too lazy to explain further. Have we just passed the test like this? Jiang Fan blinked. He had heard how challenging the test of the immortal cave mansion was. Those who came here to participate usually ended in failure. No one succeeded. Yet he and Su Weiwei came, and without needing to take a test, they surprisingly passed. If not for his life chart's power telling him, this was indeed a great opportunity and not a trap. He might have thought the other party was deceiving them. The test is merely for those common mortals. But you two are different. One has earth spirit root, the other has top-grade spirit root. Both are exceptional seedlings for cultivation. Naturally, you don't need to take the test. The primordial talisman pen stated matter-of-factly. Of course, if the primordial talisman sect were at its peak, they would still need to be tested. The problem is now it has become impoverished. Finding a disciple with spirit root is difficult enough. Naturally, there are fewer requirements. Jiang Fan too realized how much the cultivation realm values spiritual root talent, almost deciding the future of every cultivator. The higher the talent, the greater the future achievements, thus receiving higher regard from others. If he were just a mortal before, he probably would have needed to endure multiple examinations and might not even gain recognition. But now, possessing earth spirit root talent without testing, he gained approval. This shows the immense impact of talent on a cultivator. Is spiritual root talent really that important for cultivation? Jiang Fan couldn't help but ask. Of course, it's very important. Spiritual root talent determines a cultivator's lower limits. For instance, someone with top-grade spirit root talent can at least achieve foundation establishment. With earth spirit root talent, one can at least achieve golden core. If possessing celestial spirit root talent, becoming a nascent soul cultivator is practically certain. However, spiritual root talent only determines lower limits. Comprehension determines the upper limits of a cultivator. If you have extraordinary comprehension, breaking your limits is a matter of moments. Unfortunately, extraordinary comprehension is even rarer than spiritual root talent. The primordial talisman pin stated matter-of-factly. Therefore, upon detecting Jiang Fan's earth spirit root, it was overjoyed. If this young fellow doesn't perish, he could at least become a golden core Genren. This holds great benefits for the heritage of the primordial talisman sect, at least ensuring its legacy won't perish. But my spirit root is nurtured postnatally, Jiang Fan said gravely. I have long noticed. If I'm not mistaken, you must have cultivated the soaring snake technique. This is an ancient era martial arts technique. Once mastered, its power is immense. Regrettably, our primordial talisman sect obtained only its foundation establishment chapter. Yet even so, it can help mortals enter the path through martial arts and nurture spiritual roots. However, normally, even if cultivating the soaring snake technique, the nurtured spiritual root would only be middle grade or top grade spirit root. But for you to nurture earth spirit root is nothing short of a miracle. You surely have great fortune on your shoulders. The primordial talisman pin was very excited looking at Jiang Fan. If he were a naturally born earth spirit root cultivator, he would indeed be considered a genius. But to then cultivate earth spirit root as a mortal, this is undoubtedly a miracle, implying this young fellow might possess extraordinary comprehension. Top-notch spirit root talent, combined with astonishing comprehension, will lead to remarkable future achievements. This seems the perfect inheritor for the primordial talisman sect. Was it you who spread the soaring snake technique? Jiang Fan blinked. Although he had long suspected it, he still felt it incredible, as if he'd been connected with the primordial talisman sect all along. Certainly. Through hundreds of years, numerous mortals have come for testing. To stimulate their enthusiasm, I granted them various cultivation techniques, hoping these techniques would spread, bringing more talents. Looking at it now, my past actions were quite correct. They indeed brought me 2 talents. Heaven spare my primordial talisman sect. The primordial talisman pin spoke with emotion. Frankly speaking, identifying talents with spirit root among mortals is extremely difficult. To put it bluntly, it's like searching for gold in dung, spending hundreds of years encountering mostly mortals without spirit root. Even those with spirit root usually have low-grade spirit root, lacking qualification to inherit from the primordial talisman sect. If it couldn't find any, perhaps it would settle for those mediocre with low-grade roots. Luckily, perseverance paid off. Finally, it found 2 talents. This proves the primordial talisman sect is not meant to fall. I wonder what kind of sect the primordial talisman sect is. Jiang Fan asked curiously. It's a talisman sect. During its peak, it was one of the strongest sects in this realm. Sadly, calamity struck, resulting in the sect's fall and disintegration. As of now, only a few remnants of heritage remain. The primordial talisman pin said with great regret. The former primordial talisman sect was incredibly powerful, but now, to evade its foes, it hid in the mortal world, clinging to life in fear of being discovered and extinguished by its enemies. Yet, even in this situation, it never intended to let the sect's legacy perish completely. Sooner or later, the primordial talisman sect will rise again.